All right. Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to Fall 2026 Cross Country with Elevated. I am Coach Tate.
I'm Coach Andy.
And we just wanted to say hello and do this in lieu of having a formal parent meeting where we pull everybody out of their lives and have to drive and meet and go through that whole hustle and bustle. And we figured this would be just a little bit easier to cover information for both of our veterans and our new families. Forgive me if I talk fast. We have some bullet points we want to go through. And if you have questions after the fact, please feel free to reach out. The goal is just to try to get this done in 5 to 10 minutes, just with pertinent information that will kind of help everybody be successful for this fall. So first off, just as far as our coaching staff this fall, Coach Emily did have to go off to coach volleyball. She plans to come back for this coming potentially postseason, but definitely in the winter. So there's 5 of us now. It's myself, Coach Andy. I predominantly work with our upper level kids, and then Coach Andy is our youth development coach. Those of you who don't know our new families, she works predominantly with our both younger and a little bit slower athletes. And then Coach Ben, Coach Zach, and Coach Sarah work in the middle of that. So again, for new families, Elevated does stuff a little bit differently than some of the other programs that people might be familiar with. We don't group based on age and genders. We keep everybody kind of together as much as possible. But when we split, it's typically based on ability levels. And then we take a secondary look at what's appropriate for ages at that point. But that way it really allows kids to move up through the rungs as they are able and willing to, and what's appropriate for them. So it doesn't confine them to just because they're small, that they can still move up and train with some faster kids and still be challenged. So that is the structure of how we do it. So age groups, this is one where some of the parents sometimes get a little bit unclear. The way that the age group works, both for any running track organization, cross-country organization, is they look at your age on the calendar year, what you will be on December 31st. So even though you might have an athlete that right now is 8 years old, but they're turning 9 on, say, November 1st, they would be a 9-10 this year. Even if at the start of the season, they're only 8 years old, what they look at is what the age is going to be on December 31st of this year. And that is the age category in which they will compete. And so the 4 categories that we compete in for cross country is 8 and under, boys and girls, 9-10, boys and girls, 11-12, boys and girls, and then 13-14, boys and girls. Unfortunately for this traditional fall season, they do not have a 15 plus because all of those kids presumably are off at their high schools. We don't typically have 15-year-olds that aren't yet in high school, so they've all transitioned out and are doing that jam. So that's how the age groups work. If you have any questions on that, let me know. But typically when you sign up for your AAU and USATF and athletic.net, it automatically places you into those categories, but sometimes people just have questions. The race distances, the way this works for cross country is it's pretty standard, is that 8 and unders are 2K, so 1.24 miles. And both 9-10s and 11-12s compete in a 3K, and that is 1.86 miles. And then the 13-14s compete in a 4K, which is 2.48 miles. And those are all cross-country courses. So those who are unfamiliar with what this sport specifically looks like is cross-country means, by definition, varied terrain. So some of the courses are a little bit more road racy, like more pavement and gravel. Some have grass. We have a really fun one in DeKoven that has a water jump for our older kids. The younger ones don't have to do that. But that's the nature of cross-country, is that kids are running through fields and grasses and trails and hills. That's what makes it more exciting. That's what kind of everybody enjoys about it. And so that's what makes cross kind of unique, is that typically it's at a park or a public space, an open space. And once the gun fires, the kids go off and run, and then the parents kind of hustle and bustle and go around to that and try to, see them at different vantage points before they make their way back to the finish line. And so what sometimes is a surprise for new families is the way that cross country is scored. Cross country is very much a team sport. And so the kids will all line up together as a team. And as long as you have 5 or more runners, there's a team score involved. And what they typically do is think about it. You're trying to place higher in a race. So say there's 50 competitors in the race, and your team goes 1st, 4th, 7th, 10th, and 11th, 13th. They would add those places up. And the teams that have the lowest score are the champions, and 2nd and 3rd and 4th. And should there ever be a tie, they actually would go back to the 6th runner. And so this makes a scenario where all of the runners that are on there do matter to the team score. So that adds just an added characteristic that track doesn't necessarily always have. It adds that team component that the kids really enjoy and thrive under. So it creates that camaraderie. So I think that's why a lot of kids really enjoy that fall season. So that's the way that scoring works. And we are very much a team-oriented team as we really push those team scores. We pay a lot of attention to that stuff. So every week, what we do is we send out a weekly plan. Typically, I try to do it on Saturday so that people have enough time to plan their week ahead of time in terms of locations, rides, carpooling, just schedule. There's times I'll even put it out on a Friday beforehand. But we'll always practice Monday, Tuesdays, and Thursdays, and it'll always be within 5 to 10 minutes of the Southlands area. And but what I do is I actually have a grid for a training plan that has 8 and unders, 9, 10s, 11, 12s, 13, 14s. And what we ask is that athletes follow their age group plans, and their workouts will be catered to them individually and in small groups at practices. But what we really try to look for is a quality over a quantity aspect of it, as we're in this for the long game of these kids, is that we're not trying to burn them out, overuse them, overtrain them. They have plenty of years ahead of them to develop. Right now, we're trying to do, habits and enjoyment. So what we ask is those little 8 and unders, we try to keep it to 3 days a week. And then if there's a race that week, there's the 4th if they need it. We really try to ask the 8 and unders not be doing a whole lot of structured training outside of those 3 days. If they're doing swimming or some other kind of sport, fantastic. But we really try to keep the running specific stuff to 3 days. And then our 9-10s, that kind of is just going to depend on their ability levels, but we typically don't like our 9-10s to go more than 4 days a week. And even our 9-10s, a lot of times I still like them to stay 3, especially if they're newer and underdeveloped. Our 11-12s, we're usually okay with them going 4 days a week. Sometimes our advanced 11-12s might even add in a 5th, but that's just kind of a case-by-case basis, and it's going to be catered to the races. And then the 13-14s, we usually try to get them running definitely 4 days a week, 1 extra run on their own. Our advanced runners will typically run 2 on their own. And so we have target mileage that we share with the kids for those that are that invested. Others just coming to practice is plenty. But we really try to be mindful and intentional about how much training, the type of training that we do, because we're really proud on the amount of knock on wood, the lack of injuries we've had and the performances we've had. We're very mindful and intentional of the approach that we take with these kids. So what we ask is that prior to moving them up and having them do extra running, God forbid, extra training, please just run that through us, not because we're overly trying to control. We just want to make sure that we're always acting in the best interest of the babes. And that goes into the racing aspect of it. We worked really hard to build a wonderful culture on this team, and it's very much based around racing, is that we're a racing team. We race, we train, we compete. And it gets kind of hard when a kid is training, but they're not racing, so they don't have those benchmarks to see if they're actually improving. And so we really try to encourage kids to make sure they attend as many and compete in as many races as possible. We understand life happens. Some of the competitions are on Sundays, and that poses some challenges for people, understood. But what we don't allow is people just to intentionally just train and not race, because it kind of throws some of our culture aspects out the window when we're trying to motivate kids and keep them engaged. So what we ask is that as soon as kids are kind of ready and at the level to race, that we ask them to do their best to try to do so. And if you want to talk individually on that, please, we have an open forum on that. Going back to the weekly plan will always have on the bottom, and these are totally optional, but I do have both plyometric and core routines for strength unloaded onto our website, and they're actually linked on our weekly plan down on the bottom. And those are just suggestions for kids that if they want to supplement a little bit extra, if they want to, just work on their overall fitness, there's definitely a benefit to the stuff. They're personal videos that we've made that I feel there's a lot of value to. They're very easy to follow along with if they want to actually pull up the YouTube video and do them. Otherwise, they can screenshot the activities, which is what a lot of kids do once they're familiar with them, and they can just either print it out or use their phone and just kind of go along the routine. But they're all designed to take 5 to 10 minutes to do on their own, but it does give them that extra supplementation if needed. Going back to the meets on how this works, I know it sometimes seems like it's a big ask, but I think our veterans will attest to this. EDT is a little bit different. We have high standards, but we also have high performance because of those standards. Is that we are always the first team to the meets and we're always the last ones to leave. And that's because we're exceptional. We have very high standards and we like to perform. And part of that is we show up early to meets. The kids all walk the course. We get out on it. And that's got two values from it. One is letting them see the course, but then also to let them bond. We ask typically when we walk the course that parents stay back. And that's just to let the kids be alone with their teams, to let them goof off and laugh and joke and smell the morning dew on the grass and kind of just be in the moment. But it also lets them see the course, and it lets us get out there and see maybe what the hill looks like, or if there's a mud jump or something like that. And so I think that gives us a little bit of a cultural advantage, and it makes the kids feel a little bit more prepared. And they're oftentimes very, very excited to get there and be those first ones because they know that they came and they need business. We do ask that kids, if at all possible, again, we know life happens, but we ask kids that do stay and cheer on for teammates as much as humanly possible. Because some races start with the peewees and go to the olders. Some start with the olders and then taper down to the peewees for the ages. And it's really, really meaningful to all the kids to have people cheering for them. And I tell you, most kids will say that they love cheering for their teammates more than they like racing themselves. They love running around the course and cheering for each other at the mile marker and then celebrating at the finish line. And it's a really special experience for them. So we really try to encourage that as much as possible. Our season is broken into two parts. The regular season will start on Tuesday, September 1st and go through, I want to say it's Saturday, 11/14, I believe. And that's going to finish with our club state meet at Aurora Sports Park. We help host that. And that's all local front range meets and competitions. Everything's going to be within about a half hour of here, 45 minutes, I guess. But those are all local meets. They're low cost. And low pressure. If you have to miss one here or there, it's not the end of the world. But those that take it a little bit more seriously, we have a postseason that will go from that following Monday, I think 11/16, that goes through nationals. That'll be in Florida, on December 6th. And I'll be posting details on that probably next week or two, in terms of like where we're staying. We actually already have our flights booked. But in terms of details for that will be coming out very shortly, but that's a voluntary part of the season. But the kids certainly do love that. That's a really wonderful experience. It's running against some of the fastest kids in the country at a sea level race. Weather's usually pretty fantastic. And this course is a really special course because it was last year's World Cross Country Championships course. So it's supposed to be spectacular. I have not seen it, but I'm hearing wonderful things about it from those that have. So we're excited to go and see that. But again, there's no pressure for that second part of the season. It's just something that we encourage. If there is ever a financial challenge, both in the regular and the postseason, please reach out. It takes a village. We can usually find ways to supplement or try to make something happen. We do not ever want finances to be a reason why a kid misses an opportunity. Not to say we can just like gift them a plane ticket, but we do have ways to kind of rally and pull some stuff together. We got a lot of parents that travel and have miles, and we can sometimes make some kind of cool stuff happen. So if finance is the reason we can't make stuff happen, let's have some open discussions. There's never any promises, but sometimes some creativity and love and care can go a long way with us. So let's see what we can do. Last but not least, we do have a meet that we host, and I do got to really make this an ask for us. Our showdown on Sunday, October 11th. We host that. We kind of need all hands on deck for that one because Andy and I will be there setting it up the Saturday before for several hours, marking courses. But that day we'll need people helping like check in and working the finish line and things like that. So that's one that we ask. If you haven't made fall break plans yet, please do your best to try to help us out and be there for that. And I know it's one we can give you a job to cheer for your kids during their race, but also the more hands on deck, the better, because that's a pretty stressful and busy time for us. And then we will finish the season with a banquet the week after season is over, and we usually either do that at a clubhouse or we'll do it at Fox Ridge, depending upon how many athletes we have out the season, and we'll make that call kind of in September. But that will be the week following nationals, and that'll be for all athletes, not just the ones that went to nationals. That'll be for all athletes that participate in any part of the fall season, and we just celebrate and potluck it. And it's a formal event, it's it's dress tie type
Kids
of
get awards.
Kids get awards and celebrations. It's a really special way to kind of cap off the year. So I went a little bit over, but it was a lot of stuff to cover. If you have any other questions, please feel free to reach out. I'm going to wrap it up there, but hopefully that is informative. It helps you out and lets you know the vision of the season. And we are excited to see all the kids and get rolling here in about 2 weeks. So reach out with any questions. Thanks.